That's what the most maddening thing is. Despite all the evidence and despite all the other things that are legal that are terrible for you, that we don't fight about at all, including prescription drugs, legal that are terrible for you, and the things that are not terrible for you at all, and people report profound experiences that have completely changed the way they view life.
Yeah.
Those are illegal.
Yeah.
And still, it's like, who's saying they're illegal? Like, who are you? Like, who is responsible for gatekeeping some of the most powerful things that human beings have ever experienced that come and grow naturally out of the ground like mushrooms? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like, who are these people that are our age? Because we're fully grown up now, you and I. We're like parents and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who the fuck are these people that don't even have experiences in these things, gatekeeping this thing? It's like someone who can't do magic that's gatekeeping the crystal ball. Like, no one gets to use this.
Well, so I think what it is, I've talked to people who've worked with those people. I don't want to say any names because I don't want to fuck up again. But so, the assumption of any psychonaut regarding like the DEA or any of those agencies is that they are aware of the fact that some of these substances don't really seem to be harmful at all. But the reality of it is these are people who, were exposed to like the DARE program in school. And then they went to college and they were exposed to state propaganda regarding drugs. And so they compartmentalized all drugs into one box. And by the time they get out of college, somehow they dodged the bullet. They didn't take psychedelics. They didn't even get high. They thought it caused brain damage or it's going to drive you crazy. So then they get these jobs. And in the jobs, of course, because the jobs are using outdated data sets to rationalize why the laws exist at all. So they think, MDMA and PCP have the same effect. There's basically the same thing. You're going to need to restrain somebody on ecstasy, maybe. They're going to try to flip a car. So they, so that's what they think.
They would only flip a car if they thought love would fall out of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Or there was more ecstasy in it. But so it's like, I think the assumption is that, and I'm not trying to do apologetics for, things that are causing horrible, unnecessary craters in people's lives at all. But I know my assumption had always been evil, Mordor.
Yeah.
These are evil people from Mordor, when the reality is they're just misinformed people who have really committed to that misinformation and are making decisions based on that. I think that is the most simple answer. I mean, obviously anyone who's taken psychedelics has also kicked around the other possibility, which is the reason that it's illegal is not because they think it's going to fucking hurt you. The reason it's illegal is because they think it's giving you access to extra dimensional information that is off limits to general population, and they don't want you to know that stuff. It doesn't help if you're trying to.
But do you think that's really going on? Do you think that the people that are in control of these laws have experienced these things and don't want people to have access to it? Or do you think they're just a part of a long-standing system that categorizes those things as being illegal and people that are in possession of that as being criminals, and they're allowed to go after them? Like, I used to do jiu-jitsu with a cop. He's a really good guy.
Yeah.
But he was always like, I don't give a fuck if they got medical weed. He goes, if I catch you with weed, I'm arresting you. And he was serious.
Yeah.
But he was a good guy. But in his, I go, why do you want to put me in jail, bro? And like, we would spar. And he was a really good jiu-jitsu guy too. But he was just, that was his mindset.
Yeah.
I'm a cop. You got weed. I'm going to arrest you. Like, it's a thing that gets programmed into the system. Like, this is what you're allowed to do. Someone has weed, you're allowed to arrest them.
Yeah.
And when it was just medical in the state of California, that was what was going on. Because if you didn't have a medical license, you didn't have your card on you, but you had medical weed. But then when it became just completely legal, they can't do that anymore.
Well,
but they can if it's like it's a lit joint in your car. I think it's supposed to be just like an open canister of booze, right?
I don't know.
I don't think how do they categorize like whether or not you're under the influence? Like, do they have to find like a lit joint in your car?
For weed, they have to do a blood test.
Right. But do they do that but if they say you're driving, like if you have an open container in your car, this is what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
State by state.
And you get pulled over, you're in trouble. It's the same thing if you have a lit joint in your car, right?
Smoldering joint.
Right. But if it's out, still in your car, isn't that like an open container?
I think it depends on how much money you have for your lawyer.
And whether or not you keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, if you're like gonna like yap about like, I only took one hit, dude. It was 30 minutes ago. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems like what we're talking about here is once any power structure adopts a law, it's really hard to unadopt the law. It's almost easier to establish a law than it is to let go of a law, to change a law. Because to change a law, like there's so many levels to it. Like on one level, you are hopefully a police officer because you wanted to help. You were like, I want to help. I'm gonna like fucking chase down someone who just chewed someone's face off and try to stop them from chewing someone else's face off, and maybe they'll chew my face off.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. But mixed in with that, you have to do all the laws. You can't just do the ones you think are good and not the ones that you think are bad. So that means you've probably arrested a lot of people. You've sent people off for something that is harmless and there's no reason to do that. So just that level alone, like now you've got to be like, sorry, oh, whoops, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry for ruining all of your lives for a long time.
Sorry for what is the percentage of people that are in prison for nonviolent drug offenses?
A shit ton.
What do you think the number is? Let's guess. I think we've done this before,
Isn't
but
it
I feel like
less
it's in the
than half?
40s. I think it's like in the 40% range. Amount of people in federal prison for nonviolent drug offenses. You know, whenever I watch one of those drug heist movies where guys go crazy and they try to sell a bunch of drugs and guns are involved.
Yeah.
I imagine if I lived in that neighborhood. And I completely believe I would have got sucked up in that.
Sure.
If I was just some fucking knucklehead who's living in the suburbs of Boston.
Non-violent specifically, but it just says drug
offenses.
Okay.
44.8%.
44.8%.
So almost half of the people in fucking prison.